Happy, happy Monday, you all. Um, so, I find that sometimes you just need to take a break, right? However, what do you do when you've got shit to do up to your eyeballs, it seems, and it feels like there is no room for a break. It feels like there's no room for a break. So I'm gonna tell you what I did, right? So as most of you guys know me by now, I'm Dr. Maisha, and I traffic in all things business, brain, and behavior, and the unconscious mind. So I can help you dismantle those limiting beliefs and invisible influences that are running your life, right? And so, as I think about what I wanted to talk about today, this past weekend, I was so exhausted. And it's funny, I really take for granted how much stuff that I actually have going on sometimes, I'm actually doing. When I start talking about it, like when I'm talking with a friend or when I'm, networking with a colleague, and I start to talk about, give updates on all the things that I'm doing, all the projects that I'm working on in conjunction with everything that I already have. Top that with, having my son at home and being a single parent. It's like sometimes I just get present to how much it all is, and I just take all of that for granted. And I know that I'm not alone. I know that I'm not alone. I've talked to many of my fellow moms, my fellow parents, even my fellow entrepreneurs, other physicians, who same thing. It's like we kind of take for granted because we're trained to be these like really high performing professionals. So we just go about life and we do what we do. And then one day we wake up and it's like, whoo, I need a break. So this past weekend, I woke up on Saturday and, normally I wake up and I have energy to get a little bit of work done in the morning before I do whatever I'm going to do for me. And I was just exhausted. Like I had all this stuff on my to-do list, and I really just wanted to do nothing. I laid in my bed and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to get it together. And I really felt like I needed to take another nap, quite frankly, even though I had just awakened. And then top that with it was raining outside. I don't know where you all are who are listening. If you're live, say hi, tap me, but I don't know where you guys are. But in Atlanta, it was raining this weekend. And so, of course, that always makes me want to take a nap. But I was just so stuck in the mud. But I had this list. I had all of these things, these sort of deadlines that I had set that I had to get done by Saturday. And I was already a little bit behind because I had, you know, not gotten some things done um, from the prior days before. So now what do when you have all this stuff on your plate and you have these deadlines and but there's like no motivation? What do? You take a break. That's what you do. So basically, I had this happen to me probably about 3 years ago. I'm thinking 2 or 3 years ago. And my mentor just happened to call me, a mentor and committed listener. I recommend you have those, by the way. I talk about it a lot, having committed listeners in your life, having people you can go to who can put things in perspective for you and remind you of who you are. You'll hear me, if you listen to me on a regular basis, which I know a lot of people do, you'll hear me say that a lot. Have committed listeners in your life, have people who remind you who you are, have community that support you. So this particular committed listener of mine, he called me. This was maybe about a year or two ago, and he caught me in a moment. So, because I've known him for many years, probably a decade, when I picked up the phone and I said, hello, he automatically said, what's wrong? And I was so overwhelmed. I was so behind and I had so much on my to-do list, deadlines, trying to run the business, all of these things that I had to do. And I just said, I'm so overwhelmed. I just feel like I'm never going to get it all done. And so he says to me, yeah, you're right. You're never going to get it all done. And he says, so stop trying to get it all done because you're just never going to get it all done. And I have to say, that was probably when he said that, you would think in my mind, I would have thought that my reaction would have been more anxiety. But for me, it was almost like permission to not get it all done. It was a relief. Sometimes we forget, and especially in business, that a lot of the deadlines that we impose upon ourselves, and I'm very guilty of this, even to this day, that a lot of deadlines that are upon us that seem to even sometimes smother us are self-imposed deadlines. Now, of course, there are things that have to be done that have to be met that are external deadlines, but even those can be sometimes negotiated. We think that things are the way they are, how they are forever, and there's no room for negotiation. But that's not always true. There's always room for negotiation of deadlines. And I've learned that in my years of entrepreneurship and in my years of just being um, in the struggle, ups and downs of life, that everything happens inside of a conversation. So when you realize that you're self-imposing these deadlines and that you don't have to get it all done because frankly you won't anyway, then it gives you the freedom to give yourself permission to take a break when you need one, right? So for all of us who, and type yes in the chat box if you get this, if you're with me. I'm happy to hear any yeah buts, like yeah but, because that was always my thing. But yeah, but and so like type your yeah buts in the chat box. Give me your feedback. But if you're with me, type with me in the chat box, right? So one thing is when you just to realize that the world will not stop if you take a break. It will not crumble, it will not fall, your life will not crumble and fall if you take a break. Even if it's a 30-minute break, an hour break, a day off. Give yourself a day off. I have learned in my life to take breaks when I need them. And oftentimes when I come back, I'm more refreshed, I'm renewed, and I find that the ideas flow so much easily. And I'm not just talking about taking a vacation once in a while. I'm talking about regular breaks. If you're a napper, take a 30-minute power nap in the middle of the day if you can do that. I mean, obviously some people were at work, are not working from home, can't do that unless you have lunch, and you can take a 15-minute power nap in the car. I've done that before, even as a physician, gone out to the car, turn the car on, lay back, take a 15, 20-minute power nap, come back, feel refreshed for the rest of the day. So just because you're in a profession where you have a static schedule or you're in an employed position doesn't necessarily mean you can't implement those things in your life. But particularly for us who control our own schedules, for us who are entrepreneurs, I think sometimes it's even more difficult to take a break because, as I was speaking to one of my clients earlier, when you are an entrepreneur, the onus is on you to actually take the breaks. Because when you're in your own business, it doesn't always feel like work. But when your brain is continuously going, it exhausts you. So you have to give yourself permission to, number one, not get it all done. Give yourself permission to take a break when you need to. And understand that you're never going to get it all done. And feel empowered by that. Feel empowered by that. There will always be something there, an opportunity there for you. Okay? And so it's really in shifting the context for not getting it all done that there is power, right? Because I know that sometimes so you're never going to get it all done brings more anxiety, but it's in shifting the context for getting it all done is where you can access power. Like, oh, I'm not going to get it all done. Huh, well, fine. And it's not why try. It's okay. Well, so that I'm not going to get it all done. So why don't I just take a break and take care of me? So what did I do Saturday? I took a break. I put the computer down. My son was with his father for the week, so I was completely had the house to myself, and I got up. I fed myself. I just kind of walked around the house aimlessly. I maybe watched a show or two. I sat quietly. I read a little bit of a book for pleasure, and then I even laid down and just did nothing. I just laid down and just rested. And then at some point, I got up and I was like, you know what? I have an idea. And then I went back to the drawing board and I started to type a little bit. And I didn't stay on the computer for the rest of the afternoon, but I had um, another pocket of energy to complete some work that I wouldn't have gotten done if I had not taken a break, right? If I had not taken that break. So here's your, I always love to give you all homework, right? Here's your homework. Here's the takeaway, right? Take your breaks. And I would even schedule your breaks because sometimes it takes scheduling in order for you to honor break time. So one of the things that I've learned is that my son's 5.5. I think by now you guys know that I talk about him a lot. My son, he is the structure in my life. I've learned. So, because when he's here, um, I have to go between calls to spend a little time with him, to give him a hug and a kiss here. Of course, we stop for lunch, and I sit down and I like to have lunch with him when I can. And then I cut my day off at a particular time so that I can go out and play with him, and he can ride his bike. If you all remember, he's riding on 2 wheels now, or we could throw some frisbee in the backyard, things of that nature. So he is being an entrepreneur and being someone who works from home and sort of having my own schedule. I've noticed that he inserts the structure in when he's here. But when he's not here, when he's, who knows when they're going back to in-person school, but when he's not here during the day, say if my mom takes him or if he's with his father, I have to be responsible for inserting the breaks. So you have to be responsible for inserting the breaks in your day. And what I empower you to do this week is to look at where you can insert breaks, whether you own your own business, whether you're an employed person, whether you're employed and working, essentially having to work out of the house, or whether you're employed and still working in the house. Find time to insert breaks in your day, because when you're out and about and working, sometimes it's a little bit easier to keep that energy going. But when you're home and you're having to sit behind a computer for a long time, then that sluggishness can set in. And so it's actually healthy for you to insert those breaks. Give yourself permission to do something fun and relaxing, even if it's for 15, 20, 30 minutes. Give yourself permission to not get it all done. Intentionally, for you list people, I'm a list person, intentionally rework your schedule, take something off your list that you don't need to have done that day, that you've self-imposed a deadline, and actually put it on a different day. All right? Believe me, trust me, the world will not stop turning when you do this. In fact, it will help you. So that is what I wanted to leave you with today, is take a break. And it's something that I am always having to remind myself of, learn more creative ways to schedule myself breaks. And I want to just pass that on to you. And you may have heard it before, you may be hearing it all around, but it's important for you today to give yourself permission to not get it all done and to take breaks. All right. So that's all I really have for you today. I just, wanted to come and share a little bit of, what's going on with me, and how I can, any way that I can empower you during these times. That's what I do. You all know that if you want to get in touch with me, you know how to get in touch with me. You go to drmaisha.com and you can get on my schedule for a free strategy call or mind remapping reset call. That's for those people who feel they need a little bit of extra work in getting rid of those negative thoughts, negative emotions, limiting decisions, self-doubt, imposter syndrome. If you feel like that's you and you need some deeper work doing that beyond the surface of affirmation and things of that nature, you can always book a call with me right from my homepage. You can also register for free resources that I have on that page, Remap Your Mind for Success. Again, drmaisha.com, right from that homepage. And that is all for today, y'all. I'll see you on Thursday. Have a great rest of the day. Stay safe out there, mask up, and I will see you soon. Namaste.